Hi, I'm Kenneth WAJDA. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my photography talks. So today I want to talk about working with a big camera. So I took an 8x10 camera out. I've been talking to friends right around New Year's about I want to photograph certain friends with something that says something about them. And this one friend raises his daughter's horses and trains them and takes care of them, goes out to the arena where they are at, and it's not that far from me. And I said, we should do that sometime. And he said, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And he said, but I'm leaving Monday, right after New Year's. And I thought, well, we could do it this week. And he said, okay. And I go, we could do it tomorrow. And I thought, the sooner I do it, the better, because I can put this off. I can put this off till tomorrow or the next day or the next day. We might get bad weather. We might get something in our schedules that doesn't work. And he was available, and I was available. And I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I'll be out there at 9 o'clock. And he said, okay. And he gave me directions, and I went out and I set up the 8x10 camera, and he got the horses into a position. He asked me why I asked him to be where I placed them. And I said, that's because there's a big barn right behind me and behind my camera that's white, that the sun was hitting, and the sun would create, and that barn would create a great reflector to put some light back into his face. So this is the 8x10 print. I contact printed this down in my dark room that I have here at my house. And it's such a beautiful print and such a beautiful way to work for me, because I really enjoyed the slow process. I really enjoyed getting the photo all set up and then putting the cloth over the bellows, because the bellows have holes in them, and standing in front of that camera with the cable release and able to watch him and talk to him and say, okay, just keep contact with the camera and watch for the horses to get into a position that looked right, and to actually have that connection. That's the difference between, for me, shooting large format portraits and small portraits. Is large format allows you to get in front of the camera and connect with the subject. And the size of the camera makes them understand that it's going to be a little bit slower, so they're almost more patient. I talked about Gregory Heisler in the last video, and he has some photographs in that book that were shot with an 11x14 camera. And it's the same situation where people respond differently and are much more patient because they see how much work you're going through with this cumbersome apparatus. And that was certainly the case for this. And I'm really proud of this because I haven't shot all that much 8x10, and I'm always looking for, okay, what is worthy of this camera, this size? And people say, well, how can you afford to shoot that? And I always say, where's the great expense of shooting 8x10? I bought the camera for $300. It came with 6 plate holders that I couldn't use because I'm a film shooter. But I found out that the people who do alternative process photography, they want plate holders. So at a camera show, I brought them and they all sold. And they ended up paying for the camera. So I have no cost involved in the camera. And then I spent $200 on a Kodak Ektar 8.5-inch lens. I spent $100 on the lens and $100 on the mount and the lens board, figuring out how to make that work. Now I have a $200 investment into a camera that when I go out to shoot, I only took one film holder, one 8x10 film holder that had 2 pieces of film in it. Each piece of film cost $4. So I spent $8 photographing my friend. How is $8 all that expensive to make an 8x10 portrait? When you see the portraits by Irving Penn or by Richard Avedon on 8x10, maybe they shot more than 2, but maybe you don't have to. But the point is, I spent $8. I processed it at home. So that isn't such a barrier for me. I think that sometimes the idea of film being so expensive is only when you think about shooting dozens of rolls of film and trying to process them through a commercial lab and paying $15 or $20 a pop. But that's not what I do, and that's not necessary. I photograph black and white because I can afford to shoot black and white. I buy Arista EDU 100 film, which is a good quality film. It may be made by Fomapan. I'm not sure exactly, but it's a good quality black and white film, and it's not terribly expensive. Not compared to, I could splurge for Ilford HP5 or FP4, and I might in the future. But for this first batch, I just thought I'll pick up some of the Arista, and I like it. I like the way it handles, I like the way it processes, and I like the way I could contact print it. And I have something to show for my time working with that 8x10 camera, and I have something I can give to him that will always be framed in his home because it's such a part of him. It's such a photograph that is where he's at right now, and he may not always have those horses. And as he grows older, he'll appreciate having that photograph. And I appreciate having the ability to make that with a camera that is bigger and does a little bit different than just a digital camera. So I'll put a link to the pictures in the show notes. You can take a look at them online. And I really just find it an interesting way to work. Probably not something that you do every day, but something that I'm going to do a series of portraits this year of different people I know with different subject story ideas that I already have in mind. So it'll be interesting to see how they all work out, and maybe after they're all done, I'll do a show. I have a show coming up in September in Boulder, and it's an open show. I can do whatever I want. Maybe it'll be a show of these portraits. All right, that's today's photography talk. Shooting big cameras. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support, hit the Patreon. Thank you so much. And I will be back next week with another photography talk. Here's the good light.